Hi guys, how are you? Oh, I'm going to see if I can move this up a bit, actually, probably a bit low. Anyway, how are you doing? Where's my water? There's my water. Right, hello. It is 11:02 here in Washington, D.C., the USA. Good morning. What does that mean? It means it's 10 o'clock in Central Time, 9 o'clock Mountain Time, and it's 8 o'clock over there in the Pacific Time. Also means it's 4 o'clock in Portugal. It's 4 o'clock in the UK. It's 5 o'clock in loads of Europe. Apart from that, I don't know anymore. Eastern Europe, it's 6 o'clock. That's as much as I know. So hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. It is our AASLD Chit Chat. AASLD, the American Association for Study of Liver Disease. If you've watched Dodgeball, you'll get the joke, because I always want to call them the American Association for Study of Liver Disease in America. But we are where we are. We're here. Right. Veronica's with us. Jennifer's with us. Jennifer says 11 a.m. Eastern is certainly true. That's what it is. So yes, I am in beautiful Washington, D.C. It is warm. It is sunny. It feels wrong for a November morning. Bring layers, they said. It would be cold, they said. Not true. Anyway, how are you? Where are you? Come and tell us where you are in the world. We're going to chit chat. So I'm going to talk about AASLD a wee bit, but I'm open to any conversations that you have, any thoughts, any topics. As you know, we don't really talk about PBC here. We have our 2 p.m. Q&A session tomorrow. Now, it's really, really important to know it's an hour later than normal. So our sessions tomorrow will be 3 p.m. UK, 10 a.m. Eastern, and on it goes, and on it goes, okay? So there you go. Right, wait a minute, have I got this wrong? Veronica says it's 3 p.m. here in Ireland. How's that work? Is Ireland under a different time zone to the UK? That's fascinating. I never knew that. So when does Ireland change your clocks then? No, wait a minute, it would be fall back. Oh, my brain hurts. Now I'm scrambled. So, Veronica, hello, good afternoon, welcome. Elizabeth, where are you in the world? Come and say hello. Right, Jennifer is in Boston. So, bizarrely, or coincidentally, AASLD, the liver meeting, which is called what they call the big thing, is in Boston. Veronica's like, let me just double check. So, please tell me, Veronica, that it is 4 p.m. over in Ireland. Right, cheers, salut, saluti, pros, skol, kampai, lachaim, nostravia. I need a drink. So the liver meeting is in Boston next week. And no, it's not, it's in Boston next year. And it's in October, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we might get some hockey. I do like going to the garden. The gardens are. So interestingly enough, the garden is a really immense place. And my life was enriched the first time I ever heard the Dropkick Murphys song. What's it called? Heading Down to Boston? I think it's Heading Down to Boston. For the first time in that PA system in the garden. My life was changed forever. It's a brilliant tune. So the Dropkick Murphys are kind of a punk band and kind of a traditional band. So they've got kind of violins and accordions, but they've got kicking guitars as well. So you've got this kind of wee banjo-y type, mandolin type going ding 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 kind of stuff. But then you've got this punk band behind going, and it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful tune. And when you hear it in a PA system, let's say, for example, a hockey game, it's loud, it sounds good, it's really good. So that's the part of the garden I love. The part of the garden I don't love is Boston need to be up 6-0 before the crowd get involved. They're so used to winning. It's like, we're 2-0 up. Yeah, okay, whatevs. Whatevs. They're such a hard audience to please. And I come from football in the UK, where the fans just sing for the whole game. And they sing to the other fans, they sing to the team, they sing to the other team, they sing songs of positivity and love. They sing songs that are maybe not quite so positive, but they're an active part of the game. Whereas at the Boston, they're just like, yeah, whatever. And then once you're 6-0 up, you think, right, we'll get enthusiastic now. And then you start chanting and all that kind of thing. It's really, really bizarre and interesting. But there you go. Unless, of course, it's playoff hockey and then the fans get involved. So I'm in Washington, D.C., and here I am talking about Boston Bruins hockey. Why would you? Right, come and tell me where you are, how you are, and what you're up to today. So, I'll be honest, I am a bit tired. Okay, this is now, I don't know what day it is. It's Tuesday. No, it's not. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday today. Right, so yesterday was Tuesday, it finished. So I'm doing some diversity, equity, inclusion work today, and then we're doing some stuff through Global Genes and that kind of thing, which is really exciting. But so up until yesterday, we were at the AASLD meeting. So this is a meeting that has literally thousands and thousands of people come together to talk about all things liver. We have industry partners having their booths, which is absolutely huge. We have clinicians, we have patient advocates, we have academics, we have policymakers, we have, there were some nurse specialists and that kind of thing. So there you go. Right, Jasmine says, I'm driving home but looking forward to listening to your shenanigans. Jasmine Jewel, I never have shenanigans. All right, okay, sometimes I have shenanigans. I never have shenanigans that I'm able to share on here on a public forum. Okay, well, maybe sometimes. So, right, what are some of the funny stories? I'm trying to think of some of the moments that really genuinely had me laughing out loud. They'll come. They will come. They will absolutely come. So where will we start? So let's go backwards. So yesterday was actually a PSC event. Now, PSC is really interesting. PSC is now I'm going to say the ugly stepsister, right? And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way to PSC at all, nor the people working in it. But what I mean is that PBC has a diagnostic tool that's internationally recognized. PBC has a first-line therapy, which is internationally recognized. PBC has a second-line therapy, which is internationally recognized. And PSC has none of those things. PBC isn't necessarily related to risks of cancer, for example. Now, if you go into cirrhosis, there's a risk of cancer. But if you go into cirrhosis for any condition, there's that heightened risk for cancer. But PSC, without going into cirrhosis, can have a potential risk of cancer. So it's a completely different disease, but kind of similar. So there's cholangitis, which means that there's attack on the bile ducts. It can affect the liver, so it goes into fibrosis and all of those kind of things. So it's fascinating because it's kind of similar and completely different. It's fascinating that it doesn't have any of these aspects that PBC has. And it's fascinating in the sense that the people who are working in PBC will often work in PSC and AIH as well. So there's lots to learn from each other. The PSC patient support groups are awesome and they're really active, and we've got friends and partners in the arena. So it was good to see Cindy Weinbaum from HETS in Israel. It was good to see Josie Willemse from Liver Patients International, and also from NLV. Now I say NLV because I can't always get my tongue around the word, but it's the Netherlands Liver, which means basically it's the Joint Up Liver Patients event organization in Holland, the Netherlands. So, PSC Partners Seeking a Cure are always a great organization, and then there's PSC Support as well in the UK. So they've got really, really good groups. And there you go. So Tina says, "Good morning, Robert. Anything new from AASLD?" So I'm kind of getting there. So there's lots, but I don't want to be too sciencey because, frankly, I don't know what I'm talking about. But Bob Gish is coming in at 3 p.m. UK time tomorrow, and I saw Bob at a couple of events here, so it'll be really, really good to get his view and his thoughts and his takeaways. So my takeaways, right, here are my takeaways, okay? So PBC has got a really good diagnostic tool. It's got a really good first-line therapy. It has second-line options, and then you've got off-license care as well. Now, not everybody in the world has the same access to that, and that is an issue. But on top of that, we have clinical trials in disease management. So what is disease management? Disease management is addressing the progression of liver damage in PBC, okay? So if URSO doesn't work, if you don't have access to URSO, if OCA doesn't work, you don't have access to OCA. If fibrates don't work and you don't have access to fibrates, there are clinical trial opportunities in at least 2 disease-modifying compounds. Now, the early data is really, really strong, and it may be that they might overtake some of the other compounds in order of preference. That's how good they are. So the potential is huge. The science is amazing, and you know, people, good people, really, really good people are working really hard to make stuff happen there. So that's a bit of awesomeness. Now, itch. So we've produced data, as you know. We do the abstracts, we've produced surveys, and again, please, 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 if you haven't already, please do take part in the surveys, because it's only you taking part in the surveys that we get to advocate on your behalf. So for example, you know, I was at the PSC event yesterday, and a doctor said, you know, that we find that about 10% of our patients itch. And then the patient voices said, well, actually, our surveys say constantly that actually about 60% people itch. Now, our surveys, again, constantly saying that around about 6 to 8% of PBC people will have an itch. Now, if you don't take part in the surveys, if you don't tell us, we can't go in there and correct the doctor's assumptions. I wasn't exactly backward in coming forward yesterday, so I was slightly upfront in speaking to one particular clinician who was on stage at the time about the fact that maybe they need to update their information on how many patients suffer itch. But I can only do that because of the mandate you give me. How do you give me a mandate? You fill in the surveys, you tell us your experience, you tell us your stories, you tell us your hopes, your fears, your experiences, and we use that to then advocate and fight on your behalf. So if there are any surveys that you've not done, please do take part. Please make sure that we incorporate you as part of the answer. Okay, so Tina says, are any of the clinical trials worldwide or country specific? So I will come to that. I will come to that. So itch, we have not 1, not 2. We have 3 itch trials going on. Right now they are recruiting. So some are in, some are recruiting. But but we have 3 compounds that all seem to make a difference to itch in PBC. That is huge. That is absolutely huge. But if we don't get patients involved, if we don't get patients engaged, if we can't go to clinicians and say, hey, itch therapies aren't working, we need to find the solutions, then these 3 compounds are going to sail on by. And we need to not have that happen. We need to come together as a community and say, look, let's find the answers. So there you go. So that is 3. Count them. 1, 2, 3 itch compounds. How amazing is that? Even, I've been doing this 20 years. Colette was here, even before then. This is unimaginable. So far, we've got 2 disease and 3 itch, so that's 5 so far, okay? Then we have, I hope you're sitting down for this. I hope you're sitting down. Then we have fatigue. I'm just going to shut up and just let you sit there with the knowledge. I'm going to get emotional now because I'm tired and it's been an amazing conference. We are now looking at a potential fatigue clinical trial. We're looking at a potential brain fog clinical trial. We are looking at a potential fibrosis improvement clinical trial. That's huge. That is absolutely huge. And right, Claire just said, I think I'm emotional, so my eyes are not great. Let me see if I got my specs with me. I've got specs somewhere, I don't know what I've done with them. Don't try this at home, folks, we're trained professionals. Right, Claire says, my consultant says the only thing I can have for itch is calamine lotion, which does nothing. Claire, call us. I don't know which country you're in. Email us. Let's set up a time to talk, and let's address that assertion. He says as delicately as possible. So, Claire, my email is robert@pbcfoundation.org.uk. If you're in the UK, we can talk on phone. If you're not in the UK, we can talk on Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, WhatsApp, Messenger, Signal, Click Meeting, Teams. I think those are the only options we've got. So let's make it happen. Let's talk and let's give you the information you need to make sure that you're in Northamptonshire. Gosh, that's unlucky. So, right. Depending on which part of Northamptonshire, we can get you to good people. They're not going to come out with that crap, frankly. So let's make that happen. So Claire, get in touch with us and we will talk to you, find out where you are geographically and give you some of the information you need to get involved, okay? There are medications that work. They work for some people, they don't work for everybody, but the whole thing is there are options. But as well as the options, there are also clinical trial opportunities as well. So for example, if Wendy was in here, if Jill was in here, both of whom are our Nottingham volunteers, they would be talking to you about the clinical trial opportunities and all this kind of stuff. So let's just. It's been a long week. I've been having these kind of conversations with clinicians all week. I'm trying not to swear. But let's get this sorted. Rhonda Dunn, good morning. How are you? I'm in your part of the world. I'm an hour ahead of you. It is 11:21 here in Washington, D.C. So I can say to you good morning, and you can say to me good morning if you want. Don't have to. Right, that was Tuesday. There was other stuff yesterday as well. Good recap. NASH. So, also known as NAFLD, NASH, MASH, MAFLD, a whole lot of other stuff. Okay, it looks like we are 2 for 2 for name changes. We changed the name PBC, and that took an enormous collective effort, but we got there, and for huge, enormous benefit to patients. It now looks like we are going to be changing the name for non-alcohol fatty liver disease, which is amazing, again, for patients. So absolutely. Oh, so Ron does 11:21 there as well. Okay, cool. Okay. I thought you were in Central Time. Slap me about the head. So that's that. So there we go. So what else were we talking about? So there was a wonderful, so I think I can name company names. I think I can, and let's go. We'll name company names, and if it was the wrong thing to do, it was the wrong thing to do. So GSK had a symposium the other night. I think that was Monday night. Sunday night? Sunday night. Doesn't matter which day it was. They had a symposium. And what they did was during dinner, and if I get emotional at this point in time, then please forgive me. So you come together, you have dinner and networking. So this is your opportunity to meet other clinicians, meet other industry partners, meet other patient organizations, and just build partnerships and friendships. Because when you work together, you've got more of a chance of changing people's minds. So you get that, and then you get dinner, and then after dinner you get an educational talk usually from clinicians. The best ones will have patient involvement as well, and then there's a bit of conversation. Then you all go home for hot chocolate or cocoa or that kind of thing. And during the dinner, GSK showed a series of patient experience videos from PBC Foundation volunteers. So two of them were just people that work with us and support us, and hopefully we support them too. And two of them were actually registered, signed up volunteers. And it's a hard video to watch. It was a really, really hard video to watch because they were just a video diary. So, 7 o'clock at night, my itch is bad, I'm going to record a video diary. And they shared their experience. But watching one by one the knives and forks go down and people stop eating so that they could watch and focus on these videos was absolutely incredible. And the conversation all dried up, the eating all stopped, and every single person in the room was watching the patient experience on itch. And I think that changed things. I think that opened up the conversation. I think it was enormously beneficial. Now, PBC is a rare condition, okay? You could say it's almost niche. So the people who are interested, it's small numbers. The people who specialize, the people who are passionate about caring for PBC patients is small. But then itch only affects a certain number of PBC patients. So again, it's a smaller niche and all of those kind of things. But we had good people in the room, and we had good people in the room to learn and to listen and to do better. And that was awesome. So that was Sunday. Sunday, I presented to AASLD and all the clinicians that were there and all the other partners and things on stigma in liver disease, stigma and NAFLD, fatty liver disease, and the need to change the name for patients. And that was interesting. So that was quite good. And then Saturday was an Ipsen event. So Ipsen are working on disease management. So GSK are working on itch, and Ipsen are working on disease management. So one or two of you will have heard of Gideon Hirschfield. So Gideon opened up the event, and so he spoke as a clinician. There was a video presentation from Cynthia Levy, who you all know because she's done our 2 PMs, and some Dave Johns, I don't know, some guy from Newcastle who knows one or two bits. I can't remember his name. So we had physical presentation from Gideon, and then we had a couple of video clips from Dave Jones and Cynthia Levy. And then they spoke. And then they handed the entire event over to myself, representing the PBC Foundation, the people we serve, to Carol Roberts, who represents the PBCers in the US and the people they serve, and to Gail Wright, who leads the Canadian PBC Society and all the people they serve. And, you know, and I think there are multiple people who come to all three organizations for entirely different things. And, you know, it was great at the symposium that we managed to share our focus, the work that we do and all of those kind of stuff. But then they handed it over to us and said, look, talk about the patient experience. So we talked about the unmet need. We talked about the surveys that we did. We talked about the fact that, you know, self-care has a huge impact on quality of life. And that when patients are signposted and referred on to patient support organizations, it improves their quality of life. When patients get to meet and speak to other patients, when other patients understand, when you hear someone else explaining your own life story back to you because they're living it, that improves quality of life. And so to hand over the entire symposium to us three sharing this information was absolutely incredible. Incredible. I don't know if it's ever been done before in that way. But it was amazing. So again, congratulations to both organizations for their approach and the way they're trying to get the information over. But it was really, really good. And what was interesting was that, you know, we're all different organizations. We have different points of focus. We've got different numbers. We'd have different services. We speak in slightly different terms. We have deliberately delivery styles are all different. And yet, the three of us were saying exactly the same thing. It was immensely powerful. It was such an opportunity to get our story over. And people really enjoyed it. The feedback was really, really good in what we did. Which is amazing, you know, and this is 2022 and back in, you know, 1996, this was unimaginable. This is just unimaginable. So we have come a long, long way. We've done it together, and we've done it because you give us your experience. You tell us who you are, where you are, what happens to you. And then we take that on and we say, hey, let's get this sorted. So so first off, thank you to you, because you give us the mandate, you give us the information we need, you give us, frankly, the inspiration, the energy, and the fire to come and do what we do. Thanks to, obviously, the companies that do this, that take a novel approach, that are not doing the same things over and over again, but they're actually looking at innovative ways to improve patient quality of life. What a journey. So yeah, so Lisa says, I take it you don't have a script. So what we actually did was we had what did we have? We had a couple of slides. So for example, we talked about some of the patient surveys and abstracts that the foundation has done, right? So what were we doing? We did so I don't know if you were involved in the word cloud. We had a word cloud. We asked you 3 words, you know, describe how it feels living with PBC. And so what I said, so I would be moderating, if you will. So I'm Oprah. Let's put it this way. I don't look quite as good as Oprah, and I'm not quite as bright as Oprah, and I'm definitely not as rich as Oprah, but I was Oprah, okay? And so I said, so this is the foundation's experience, this is what patients have said to us, and this is their thing. So Gail, Carol, you know, the people that talk to you, what do they say to you about symptoms and quality of life? And then on it goes, and on it goes, and on it goes. And then we had another slide. And this is a really, really important part, right? We know that you've got your liver tests, okay? We know you've got liver tests. We know you've got histology, so the actual cell change inside the liver. And then you've got symptoms and quality of life and everything else and all that kind of stuff that goes. And so our role is to highlight, and one of the things I said the other night, which wasn't scripted, but it was just me being, just causing trouble. I said that never, ever, ever, and I can't remember how many evers I used, but I used a lot. I said, have I ever had a patient come up to me and say, you know what? My ALK Phos is killing me today. Because it doesn't happen, right? You're not sitting there going, it's a bad ALK Phos day today. That's not how it works. It's about fatigue, or it's about itch, or it's about all these other things. And so what we were trying to do, sometimes nicely, sometimes using humor, sometimes more directly, we're trying to say that actually all three important parts of PBC are important. So treat them like they're important. Give them importance. Give them priority. And we did things that, we know that they're scientists, so they like data, they like numbers. So for example, we said, look, there are 365 days a year. I can't remember the number, but 500 and something thousand minutes a year. And the average PBC consultancy is 18 minutes. So that's 18 minutes that you guys are talking to each other. And so we have to make the most of those 18 minutes. But that means there's another hundreds of thousands of other minutes throughout the year that you've got to somehow bring into that meeting. You've got to somehow bring all those other hundreds of thousands of minutes into that consultation and explain to the clinician where you are and how it affects you. And so what does that take? It takes focus from you. Prepare, have your top 3 questions ready. Have your list of medications ready and be absolutely sure what you need and want to ask. So those were some of the points that we tried to get over. So Lisa says it's good you can be taken by surprise and put a good talk out there. So I mean, we prepared. We heavily prepared, and we thought about our messages and what we wanted to do and all of those kind of things. So it wasn't a surprise as such. But sometimes the surprise happens. So for example, at the GSK thing, they're talking away, and then Cynthia went, so I wonder what Robert's thoughts are on that. So, I better get the microphone. So the thing is, I don't have thoughts, right? There is nothing ever that I have said that is new or innovative, even semi-intelligent, that's come from me, ever. Every single thing that I've ever said or argued or presented has come from the PBC patient experience. So they're not my thoughts, they're my memories, because you share your stories, you share your experiences, you show your hopes, your fears, your daily lives. So they're not my thoughts, they're my memories. But they're your thoughts, they're your words, and that's my favorite part of the role, is taking what you have, taking what you give me, what you give the foundation, what you give to the volunteers, the way that you trust us with your experience, and then we use it to make things better. And it's just, it's an amazing thing to be asked to do. So yeah, so thank you. So that wasn't, that's not where I expected to go with this, but anyway, so that was the other night, that was Saturday night. The Friday we learned about, so particularly in the US, the actual access to transplant figures are not really good for people with PBC, PSC, and AIH. Now, I have made it a personal goal in my life to address MELD. MELD is, frankly, he says, sitting on the fence. I just don't see MELD as fit for purpose, frankly. There are so many issues in terms of disparity in access and all of these kind of things. And, you know, if you're a woman, you're disadvantaged by the MELD score. If you are in other bits of situations, you're disadvantaged by the MELD score. Now, the challenge is that when it comes to liver transplant, particularly in countries like the US, where the need absolutely enormously supersedes the supply, it feels a bit like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. That, you know, you do the best you can, and that's the job you've got to do, but ultimately we're all going down. So we need to find other ways to do it. So it's not sexist as such, Lisa, although the result of it is sexist. So it's not deliberate, but it's just the way that certain scores are measured and the way that the certain scores count in the process. And I can't think exactly, but let's say, for example, let's say it's ALT, okay? I don't think it is, but let's say it's ALT. Actually, no, let's say it's liver test X, okay? So liver test X has to be over threshold 10, okay? To give you an extra bonus point to then contribute to your MELD score, which then makes you closer to transplant. But unfortunately, in the normal ranges, the male score is 8 and the female score is 6. So that means to get to the 10, to then get your bonus point, which contributes to your MELD, women have to be more abnormal because you've got further to go to reach that threshold. So I don't think it's designed to be sexist. I don't think it's sexist in its approach, but it's absolutely sexist in its outcomes. And so those are the kind of things that we need to address. And, you know, they play with it. There was MELD, MELD2, MELD3, MELD sodium, which took into salts and all that kind of thing. And frankly, in my humble opinion, and I'm sure a more educated doctor will come and tell me why I'm wrong, I just don't think it works. I just don't think it works. I don't think it's a fair and equitable system. So Lisa, I thought generally more women have PBC. So yes, they do have more. So it's about 90% of people with PBC are women. But bear in mind that PBC is a rare disease. So in the olden days, PBC was the biggest single reason for liver transplant in adult women. But you've now got NAFLD, fatty liver disease. You've got the other conditions which are also increasing. So in real terms, PBC transplant is still stayed at a certain level. It's not increasing. And in percentage terms, it's actually dropping. So there's less and less need for PBC liver transplants. So, you know, I saw the data at a presentation last week, and I've not taken it in yet. I need to read the slides again. But generally speaking, it's about 60 to 70 PBC transplants a year in the UK. Now, that's out of around 22,000 patients. So that's a huge amount of patients, but only 60 to 70 PBC transplants a year. So it's actually very, very few people they need a liver transplant. But when you look at, so for example, fatty liver disease, okay? I hope you're sitting down for this. Fatty liver disease is estimated to be round about 1.25 billion people in the world. So that's 1.25 thousand million people have fatty liver disease. Give or take, to the nearest 12. That is a completely different problem. And it's a completely different demand on the system. And if we don't get this right, it's going to be a completely different demand on the liver transplant services of the world. And so that's where we are. So we have 1.25 billion people with NAFLD, fatty liver disease, which can go on to NASH. And then we have in the UK, 60 to 70 people a year that need a PBC transplant. That's a really interesting arena in which we need to fight our corner. And so this is why it feels like rearranging deck chairs. This is why we need better treatments. This is why we come to you for your information and say, hey, we need stuff. So hopefully that gives you a wee bit of kind of perspective and a wee bit of information. Anyway, I did a really good job of not answering Tina's question earlier. So Tina said, are the trials multi-centered, multinational, are they country specific? Because of the rare nature of PBC, most of the trials, certainly the ones I'm aware of, are all multi-centered and multinational. So, so you can get trial opportunities in the US, trial opportunities in Canada, trial opportunities in the UK, trial opportunities in Israel, in Spain, in I've got a feeling there are trial opportunities in the Netherlands. There might be trial opportunities in Belgium. I'm not sure many of you guys are going, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend going to Belgium just for a trial opportunity. But what I'm saying is there are opportunities, and there are people investing a huge amount of time and money to find patients where they are to help them on their PBC journey. So that's that. Where I am today, I've probably forgotten more than I have shared with you. But those are some of the takeaways. And so this is what we do at AASLD. And there's a nasal one in the summer. But it gives you an idea of what we get up to and who we talk to and why we talk to them and all of those kind of stuff. How can you become involved if you don't attend the bigger hospitals? So that's a great question. So that's a really, really good question. So there are websites you can go to, and we are looking at completely reshaping our website. But we want to have a section sharing this kind of information. But if you want to be involved in a clinical trial, for example, you could go to clinicaltrials.gov. Now that's fairly US centric, but it gives you some of the ideas of some of the more international trials as well. But you can go to your clinician and say, look, I have symptom X and what we're doing right now is not working for me. So I would like you to find me a trial in symptom X so that we can look at finding some of the answers. And that's it. You can come to us and say, look, I have symptom Y. Are there any clinical trials available? And if so, who do I go to? And we will find out that information, and then we will see if we can put you in touch with the right people. But this has to be led by you. We can't lead this, okay? You as individuals, you as a community, you as a patient with patient experience, with patient knowledge, with patient expertise, have have the answers. One of my favorite things is if we are at a multi-stakeholder event, and I'll ask the industry guys, okay, if you're working in pharma, can you raise your hand? And they all raise their hand, and they're proud to raise their hand because they're making a difference and they're working hard to find the answers. I go, meh, you don't have the answers. You have the questions. All the patients in the room, can you raise your hand? The patient raises their hand. I say, right, you have the answers. And what we need to do as a community, what we try to do as an organization, is to bring the people with the right questions together with the people with the right answers. The answers are out there. You guys have the answers. You guys are the answers. We've just not asked the right questions yet. And that's what we need to do. So yes, if you're interested in a clinical trial, you can let us know. You can let your clinician know and say, look, you know, we need to come together and we need to get this done. Does that answer the question? I hope so. Okay. Any other thoughts or questions? So that's AASLD. So that gives you a flavour of what we do and how we do it. The other thing is we carry our information. So, you know, over here, I've got a stash of PBC leaflets, I've got compendia, I've got the lay guidelines, I've got the URSO calculator. So I've got all that in my bag. And I take those round and I give them to clinicians and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of what we do. That is AASLD. Alicia says, I haven't even seen a consultant in 3 years. So you know, we need to address this. And so there are two parts to consultation. One is the actual physical examination. When I say physical examination, Jill, we were talking about you. We were talking about itch and being a volunteer. This was right at the start. This was ages and ages ago, but your name came up. So just to let you know, we were talking about you in a nice way for once. So, and if anybody else asks if I was talking about Jill nicely, I would of course deny it. So the fact that you're passed to a nurse isn't necessarily a bad thing. There was a study in Wales, okay? And it looked at GPs, it looked at consultants, and it looked at nurses. And which group of people had the highest percentage of patients on the correct URSO dose? It was the nurses. Nurses know stuff. We had an abstract presentation at the annual conference of the British Association for Study of the Liver. Angela Eddy, who you will meet at the Volunteers Conference. And again, if you know, we're always looking out for new volunteers in a whole range of ways. So for example, Angela isn't what we call an old school volunteer. She doesn't arrange local meetings. She doesn't necessarily do any fundraising or those kind of things. But what she did as a volunteer was go and speak to the nurses about PBC, because nurses are interested. They want to make the difference, and nurses are pretty awesome. Let's not. I was going to swear. Let's not muck about there, okay? And so, actually, for me, if somebody was seeing a nurse and that was answering their questions and that was ensuring their care was the right way and all of those kind of stuff, awesome. Job done. You know, because we need personalised medicine. Not everybody needs to see a Dave Jones or a Gideon or even a Palak or a Cynthia or... You know, it's actually very, very few people with PBC that need to see those types of people. It's great to have access to them, and that's why we do our 2 p.m s. That's why we do our Q&A sessions. That's why, you know, we get our clinicians to present at our volunteers conference. All of that kind of stuff. But actually, most people with PBC don't need that level of expertise. What they need is somebody who's running their tests on a regular basis, who's maybe doing fibroscans or that kind of thing on a regular basis, and who is helping control symptoms and quality of life. that's it. And it's the people who are not responding, who, you know, whose biochemistry doesn't come down or normalize. Those are the people who then need more expertise, deeper questions, all of that kind of stuff. Caroline says, my local liver nurse specialist is brilliant. Caroline, so many people can say that, because they are such an awesome group of people. So I'm delighted that that's your experience, and thank you for sharing that. There you go. And you know, Lisa said, to be fair, the nurse was probably better and more knowledgeable. So again, shout out to the nurses. Who knew? Cheers to the nurses. Right, guys. So hopefully that's been helpful. Hopefully that gives you an insight into what we do at ASLD. Hopefully that explains why I'm knackered. But yeah, so that's an insight to ASLD. That's what we do. It's how we do it. It's the people with whom we do it. But you guys know why we do it. So hopefully that's been helpful. You know, and it's kind of about PBC, but it's not kind of about PBC, but it's definitely still a chit chat. It shares some of the stories, and hopefully it gives you a deeper understanding of what we do with your information, your experience, and all those things with which you trust us. So on that note, sod off, a lot of you. Go and enjoy the rest of your day. If you're, now I can say this, if you're on the far side in the UK, have a wonderful evening. If you're on the near side, so that's over here, stateside, then enjoy the rest of your day. It is coming up lunchtime. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Remember, tomorrow's Q&A session is an hour later than normal. It's 3 p.m. UK time, and that's because we've got Bob Gish away on the Pacific coast. And it'll be really nice to see actually Bob's take on it. So yeah, because you know he's got a different mind, he's got a different set of priorities, he's got different gaps in his knowledge. Well, to be fair, he's not got many gaps in his knowledge, but you know, so he'll have some takeaways. Right, Veronica says thank you. It was very informative. You're very delighted. Can I see you? Caroline, I really look forward to that. So thank you for your kind words. Right, enjoy the rest of your day. As ever, I'll leave you with love and light. Thank you for being part of the conversation. Thank you for your questions, your attention, and hopefully it's helpful. All right, take care, guys. Love and light.